Hare Krishna. Good morning from Sri Mayapur. So today's we're on live on the wing right now. Today's the auspicious appearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. So we're going to sing a special song written by Nayananda Thakur. I sent to you guys. You should have on your phone. Nayananda Thakur was the son of Vaninash Mishra, and Nayananda Thakur was one of the favorite disciples of Srila Gadadhar Pandit. He wrote this wonderful song, which we printed in our last issue, Bindu. We called it Gadadhar Pandit, the Life of the World. So we can sing this together. And the first stanza of the song, Dvaya Sagara Mura Pandita Gosai. Do you have it? We can all sing that as a chorus together between ceremonies. So we're going to sing this song, Krishna. I think it's on your phone. Toyara Sagara Mura Pandita Gosai. 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 Tumhara charana binu mora kichu nahi. Tumhara charana binu mora kichu nahi. Tumhara charana binu mora kichu nahi. Tumhara charana binu Gaurangera Sangerange Bhavatana Gaurangera Sangerange Bhavatana Janama Prakashira Jagatan Janama Prakashira. Everyone on together, Bella. Toyara Sagara Mura Pandita Gosai. Tumhara charana binu mora kichu nahi. Kali Yuga Jiva Jata Mali Naki Kali Yuga Jiva Jata Mali Naki Jirana Namadila Toyara Sagara Mura Pandita Gosai. Tumhara Radha Gadadhara Gaurangera Say Radha Gadadhara Gaurangera Say Krishna Chaitanya Say Krishna Chaitanya Sarvashastra Toyara Sagara Mora Pandita Radha Radha Bole Gaura Radha Radha Bole Gauranga Pandite Radha Radha Bole Gauranga Pandite Toyara Sagara Mora Pandita Tomara Charanamina Mora Kichunai Pandita Gosari Preme Bashila Samsara Asina Samsara Indapani Tina Thakur Samagita Toyara Sagara Mora Pandita Tomara Charanamina Mora Kichunai Tina Seva Kadia Tina Seva Kadi Pandita Tina Thakur Tina Seva Kadi Pandita Tina Thakur Pandita Gosari Kripa Mori Kori Pandita Gosari Kripa Toyara Sagara Mora Pandita Tomara Charanamina Mora Pandita Gosai Amma Jagatira Prana Pandita Gosai Amma Jagatira Prana Pandita Gosai Ama Jagate Gadadhar, Gaura Gadadhar, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga Jai, Gadadhar Gauranga Jai, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga Jai, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga Jai, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga, Gadadhar Gauranga, Jai Jai Prabhupada, Srila Gadadhar Pandit ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. I'm just laughing because we're online, and there's quite a few devotees online this morning. Actually, Indra Maharaj asked us if we live stream this morning. And Naranjan Maharaj may be coming over today if he's physically up to it. He's been having a hard time lately. But one devotee, let's see, who was it? Sucharya wrote and asked us, what is the song that we're singing? And I'm laughing because Madhu Pati Prabhu in Budapest, he replied, he pasted in the whole song from our last bindu. Thank you, Madhu Pati Prabhu. God bless you. So today's the auspicious disappearance day of Srila Gadadhar Pandit, and we'd like to speak something about him today. We're also going to try to do a 6-hour kirtan here today in our ashram. We have some wonderful devotees with us today. Shamakura Mataji, Sachaitanya Guru, Leka, Krishna Cream, and Anapani Radha's playing the danga from another building over. She has some difficulties today. So this song, a very nice song, as we mentioned by Nayananda Thakur. I'll say a few words about the song first, and which we should have done before we started perhaps. But it's a little hard on Facebook because when you're live streaming, people come at different times. And if you start by speaking about the song, then they don't have a clue what's going on, which probably nobody had in India. So the Nayananda Thakur, as we were mentioning in the beginning, was one of the most dear disciples of Srila Gadadhar Pandit. He's the younger brother, the youngest son of Vaninath Mishra, who's the youngest brother of Gadadhar Pandit. And he wrote this wonderful song. He describes Doyara Sagar, Mora Pandita Gosha. He says, Mora Pandita Gosha, you're my Pandita Gosha. And you're Doyara Sagar, you're the ocean of mercy. And therefore, you're my Pandit Gosha. You're my Gosha means you're my Lord and Master. And Pandit here means Gadadhar Pandit. But Pandit also means that person who really knows Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He says, Tomara Chanara Binu. Bina means without. Tomara Charana Binu, without your lotus feet. Mora Ara Kichunai. I don't have anything else. That's all that I have. He's starting off the beginning of the song in such a dedicated way. He says, Gaurangera Sange Range Avatara Kori. You came here to do pastimes. Rangi means to have playful pastimes in association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this way, Nija Nama Prakashila Jagatara Vishtaya. Your name was revealed to the world. Kali Jugada Jiva Jata Malina Dekiya. That when you saw that the people in Kali Yuga, they were Malina, they were very dejected and depressed. And Dekiya means to see. You saw that. Then Nija Radha Nama Dila Jagata Bhariya. You gave the world your name of Radha. What does that mean? The Gadadhar Pandit came and gave his name to the 8 people of Kali Yuga, your name of Radha. Well, it has a very, very deep purport, which we'd like to try to discuss today. How the influence of Gadadhar Pandit and the connection of Gadadhar Pandit and Gaura Lila, the position of Gadadhar Pandit and Gaura Lila. If I forget to come back to this point in the song, please somebody would remind me. We have a lot. We have so many things today. It's impossible to cover everything. He says, say Radha Gadadhara Gaurangara Kole. That say Krishna Chaitanya Sarva Shastri Bole. All the different Shastras say that Gadadhar, who's Radha, is in the lap of Gauranga. That when Radha becomes Gauranga in the lap of Gauranga, that's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What does that mean? It's a very, very deep points. Prati shloke, prati akshanam. Every word, every verse has a lot of purport to it. So here, Nayananda Thakur is indicating the position both of Gadadhar Pandit and of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we know, as we will discuss in a minute, that Gadadhar Pandit is the manifestation of Srimati Radharani, but then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Narayan. He's the combined form of Radha and Krishna. So these last 2 lines, actually, maybe we'll kind of try to discuss a little now, indicate that Gadadhar Pandit has come to give Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the mood of Radha. Without Gadadhar Pandit's doing it, Mahaprabhu wouldn't understand the mood of Radha. And therefore, he's so in effect on the lap of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When you have someone on your lap, it means that's who you're broadcasting. It means that's who's very intimate with you. It means that's who everybody sees. They see the connection between the 2 of you. It means an intimate connection. So this is Gadadhar Pandit and Gauranga. Pandita Goswami Premi Bashi Lakshmi Shani. The love of Pandit Gosai flooded the entire world. What is that love of Gadadhar Pandit? That's the mood of Srimati Radharani. And that's the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's teaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to taste that love. Brindavani Tina Thakur Shama Pilatari. He was given these 3 deities of Vrindavan. What does that mean? I feel that this refers, because Gadadhar Pandit had 2 primary deities that he worshipped. One was Mela Thakur, this personal deity that he had was also called Gopinath. He was still present today in this world. We'll speak a little something later about that. Is that, can somebody bring in my phone? And the other is the deities of Shri Shri Radha Lita Tota Gopinath. Krishna Kun, can you go down and get the milk? I'll just keep it. So one day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jagannath Puri, you're going to need a container for me. And I gave away a container. So this is real live streaming. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting with Gadadhar Pandit in a place named Chatak Parva in Jagannath Puri. And as they were speaking together, Gadadhar is reading to him from Srimad Bhagavatam in a place which was known as Full Tota, or the Jambeshwar Full Tota. The garden, full means flower, Tota means garden in the real language. It was a Jambeshwar Full Tota, the flower garden of the ancient deity of Jambeshwar Mahadev. And as they were sitting there in this bank of the sand dune, Mahaprabhu was hearing Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. And suddenly Mahaprabhu, while he's listening, he's seemingly idly digging in the sand. It's like sometimes we're listening to something, we're doodling, we're listening to someone, we're doing something. Mahaprabhu seemed like he was idly digging in the sand. And suddenly he turned to Gadadhar and he said, hey Gadai, would you do something for me? And Gadadhar said, yes, my lord, what is it? And then Mahaprabhu said, he revealed the forms of Radha, Lalita, Tota, Gopinath in the sand. He said, would you worship these deities for me? So these are the 3 deities, the deities of Vrindavan. And why in particular the deities of Vrindavan? Because these particular deities, this is Gopinath. And Gopinath Shiman Rasa Dasaram Bivam Sivata Tatasvita Karsham Venusvana Gopir Gopinata Shiyastana. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has given us this verse, or perhaps it was written before him, we don't know. But this verse is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita describing that on one occasion Krishna began playing his flute at Vamsivat, and all the gopis came running, and then the Ras Lila took place. And then later the Bhagavatam describes that Krishna told the gopis, Napari eham niravadya samyujam swasadu krityam vibudaya sapiva yamarvajam durjaya geha shrinkalai samvitshayatad pratyapu sadhana. He told the gopis that I don't know how to repay you. Your love is so spotless, how can I repay you? And so the last words of the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Pratiyatu Sadhuna, indicates that he says that by let your own glorious activities be your reward. And that means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Gopinath is the beginning of Gaura Lila. And as we may discuss, you may know, Gopinath is also the end of Gaura Lila. He's the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And it was Gopinath who was given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Gadadhar. So Nayananda Thakur, he finishes the song by describing, this Tina Sevaka Diya, Pandita Tina Sev Thakur Sevi. That Gadadhar Pandit, he engaged his followers in the service of these three deities. Perhaps he's referring to such devotees as Mamu Thakur, who was the maternal uncle of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and who later established the deities of Shri Radha, Shri Varuni, the consorts of Balaram, Revati Varuni and Balaram, and Gaur Gadadhar, and the deities of Radha Madan Mohan, and also the deity of Gopishwar Mahadev. He installed all those deities there at Tota Gopinath temple. So Gadadhar Pandit engaged his followers in the service of these three deities, and he says, Pandita Goshai Kripa Mori Kori Habi. When will he give his mercy to me? And what does he mean by saying this? There's an indirect meaning here, that mercy means seva. That he gave this service to these persons. So when is he going to give his mercy to me? He's given service to other persons. When will I also give service to Gadadhar Pandit? Pandita Goshai Amar Jagatara Pran. That my Gadadhar Pandit, he's Jagatara Pran. He's the life of this world. How is he the life of this world? Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Vishwambar. And we'll discuss this a little more later also perhaps. And he's known as Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And Gadadhar Pandit has some intimate relationship with that. Gadadhar Pandit is the life of this world because he's the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Nayananda Pandit says, Nayananda Thakur says, Nayananda Mani Nahi Jani. I don't know anything but that Gadadhar Pandit. So there's so many, many things to discuss. I would like to recite a couple of prayers to Gadadhar Pandit and also to my Guru Maharaj before we go any further. Gaura Graganya Gana Gota Goloruharam Gauram Gudatama Gopyara Kopa Briksham Gopala Gadadhatidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami. So we have a number of different pranam mantras of Gadadhar Pandit. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different. We won't read all of these, but I'll just read a couple. These we also printed in our Krishna Katanga Bindu magazine recently. Gadadharam Maham Vande Madhavacharya Nandanam Mahabhava Swarupam Shri Chaitanya Binarupinam. Very beautiful verse. Gadadharam Maham Vande. I offer my vandana, my prayers to Gadadhar Pandit, who's Madhavacharya Nandanam, who's a son of Madhavacharya. It's occurring to me that we have Lynn and some personalities watching today. And Lynn, I'm sorry, it's going to be a little confusing for you, I think. But Gadadhar Pandit is one of the intimate associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For those of you who aren't aware of that, he's one of the members of the Panchatattva. And this verse describes that he was the son of Madhavacharya, who's a great Brahmin. And he's Mahabhava Sarupam Shri. He's a personification of Mahabhav, the highest devotional ecstasy, and Sri Chaitanya, Bina Rupina. He's non-different. His form is non-different from the roop, from the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Hladini Swarupaya Gauranga Suhridaya Cha Bhakti Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namostute. We can recite together, maybe with the devotees here. Repeat after me. Sri Hladini Swarupaya Gauranga Suhridaya Cha Gauranga Suhridaya Cha Bhakti Shakti Pradhanaya Bhakti Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namostute. Gadadhara Namostute. I offer my obeisances to Sri Gadadhar Pandit, the personification of Lord Krishna's pleasure potency, the bestower of devotional service, of bhakti, and the near and dear associate of Lord Gauranga. So we'd like to read something from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita purport. I'm going to go ahead and just sing this because I very much like to sing these verses. This is from Adi Lila, chapter 10, text 15. Now, this chapter 10 describes the tree of Gaura Lila and all the different associates of Mahaprabhu. Gaura Gadadhara Pandita Gosai Teno Lakshmi Rupa Tana Samake Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram. This is the fourth branch, Prabhupada translates. Gadadhar Pandit, the fourth branch, is described as an incarnation of the pleasure potency of Sri Krishna. No one, therefore, can equal him. Prabhupada writes in his purport, in the Gaura Ganadesh Deepika, it is stated, quote, Sri Krishna's pleasure potency, formerly known as Vrindavan Eshwari, is now personified in the form of Sri Gadadhar Pandit in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami has pointed out that in the shape of Lakshmi, the pleasure potency of Krishna, she was formerly very dear to the Lord as Shyamasundar Vallabha. The same Shyamasundar Vallabha means the dear one of Shyamasundar Krishna, it means Srimati Radharani. The same Shyamasundar Vallabha is now present in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes as Gadadhar Pandit. Formerly as Lalita Sakhi, she was always devoted to Srimati Radharani. Thus Gadadhar Pandit is simultaneously an incarnation of Srimati Radharani and Lalita Sakhi. In the 12th chapter of this part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a description of the descendants or disciplic succession of Gadadhar Pandit. And the next verse describes Tanra Sishya Upasishya Tanra Upasaka E Mata Sabasaka Upasakar Leka. That the disciples and grand disciples of Gadadhar Pandit are his sub-branches. To describe all of them would be difficult. So Srila Prabhupada was referring to this verse, which is text 147 from Kavi Kanipur's Gaura Ganadesh Deepika, which describes Sri Radha Prema Roop, that Radharani, who's the form of ecstatic prema, ecstatic love of God. She's Pura Vrindavaneshwari, she's the queen of Vrindavan. Sa Shri Gadadhar Gaura Vallabha Pandidakya became Gadadhar Pandit. But it also describes that Swarup Damodar Goswami says, Nirita Shri Swarupa Yo, that Swarup Damodar Goswami says, that Braja Lakshmi Taya Jata, that Gadadhar Pandit is also Lakshmi Devi of Braj. And this Lakshmi Devi, now Sajja Gaura Prema Lakshmi Sri Gadadhar Pandit, has become the wealth or the sadhya, the everything of Gadadhar, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Excuse me, he says that she's become Lakshmi with this Gaura Prema. And there's a number of different statements about Gadadhar Pandit. In one place also in the Bhakti Ratnakar, it says that Gadadhar Pandit is a manifestation of Srimati Radharani, of Lalita, and also of Krishna himself. It's a combined form of these three. Very difficult personality to understand. We'd like to try to say a little something about him today. I'm afraid we're already gone later than I usually go. Since today we're going to have Kirtan, Prabhupada said that Kirtan and Kirtai are not different. Maybe we'll go a little bit late if the devotees allow with this, because it's a very, very esoteric topic. So Gadadhar Pandit appeared in what's now Bangladesh in Chattigram. His father was a Brahmin, Madhav Mishra. His mother, her name was Ratnavati Devi. He was the disciple of Pundarik Vijayanidhi, and there's a very wonderful story about how he took initiation from Pundarik Vijayanidhi. I don't think I'm going to go in that direction today because it's just so many things to speak about. But his Shripad today, he has three Shripats really: Bharatpur, which is in the Murshidabad district of West Bengal, and then his birthplace in Bangladesh, and the third is Jagannath Puri. And I'd like to speak a little more today about his pastimes in Jagannath Puri, not so much his pastimes, a little something, but more about his ontological position, how he features, how he interacts in Gaura Lila. He had two deities, as we mentioned, male Krishna, and we printed a picture, a photograph of this deity, male Krishna, still today in Bharatpur, being worshipped by the descendants of Nayananda Thakur. And that deity is about as big as your hand. He's a black, beautiful deity of Krishna. And Gadadhar Pandit used to keep him in a chain around his neck. He was so very, very attached to that deity. And later, his deity was Gadadhar Pandit. His appearance day was the Amavasya day. This is an interesting thing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the Purnima. Purnima is the full moon day. And the Amavasya means the day that the dark moon, where you don't see the moon at all. Now, some Vaishnavas have commented on this, that why has Gadadhar appeared on the Amavasya and Mahaprabhu has appeared on the Purnima? There's a purport to it. Because Gadadhar Pandit is what's left of Srimati Radharani after Krishna has taken Radharani's ecstatic love. That Krishna, Rupa Goswami, he describes it, Rasastoma Mritva. Krishna entered into the heart of Srimati Radharani and took her love, and he became then Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So then what happened to Gadadhar then? Therefore Gadadhar is on the Amavasya. Amavasya means there's no moon. there's very little there. And Mahaprabhu appeared in the Purnima because he's full, he's Purnima. He's got Radha Bhav. So it's interesting to note that Gadadhar Pandit appeared on the Vaishakhi Amavasya, and he disappeared today on the Jyeshta Amavasya. It's also the Amavasya day that he disappeared. And this day is a very interesting day in particular because, at least here in India, this is also a solar eclipse. A very interesting day indeed. And the eclipse, many times devotees, they're very confused about the eclipse. I just want to make a couple quick comments about this without going into any pramanas, and it's a big, big discussion. But in Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatana Goswami says, he provides different verses to support this, and he comments on it, that the eclipse is a very, very auspicious day to chant the holy name. It's a very, very auspicious day to get initiated into the holy name, he said, because the holy name has more potency on this particular day. And this is why Gaudiya Vaishnavas, this is how they observe the eclipse. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he told the disciples that we don't observe all these smarta observances They put kosher gas over the foods and they close all the windows so none of the light comes in and they won't go outside. And then they take bath. Bhakti Vikas Maharaj in his biography of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta comments that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta once chastised one of his disciples for taking a special bath on the day of the eclipse, because he was doing it, not that it's wrong to take a sacred bath on the day of the eclipse, it's very good, but he was doing it as a kind of a smart observance, because people think, oh, I have to do this. And we see amongst different smartas, especially in Jagannath Puri, also in Navadvip and Vrindavan, they close all the temples on this day. But Srila Prabhupada told the devotees, our temple, we will close it because that's what everybody else does. We should go along, otherwise they'll criticize. But very strictly, all the worship should go on. My godbrother Chaitanya Chandra Maharaj, once I asked him, he was Guru Maharaj's servant quite a lot, and I asked him, how did Guru Maharaj observe the Grahan, or the eclipse? And he said that he asked Guru Maharaj about it. Guru Maharaj said, we don't take part in all this. We just, if anything, we chant some extra Hare Krishna. And Guru Maharaj took prasadam also that day. He wasn't so much attached to that. Although traditionally people don't take prasadam, they minimize their bodily needs and desires on that time because it's very auspicious for bhakti, and materially speaking, it's considered to be very inauspicious. If someone's not hearing and chanting, that's a very, very inauspicious thing. So it's an auspicious day for us. It's the disappearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. It's also the disappearance day of Thakur Bhaktivinoda. And I'm not going to go there. There's too many things to speak about. But we'd like to say a little something about Srinivasacharya and Gadadhar Pandit. It's a very wonderful description in the Bhakti Ratnakar about Srinivasacharya and how he met Gadadhar Pandit. Srinivasacharya is a long, wonderful, amazing story. His father was named Chaitanya Das because he was present at the time when Mahaprabhu took sannyas and received the name Chaitanya from Keshava Bharati. Prior to that, he had a different name. But when he saw that sannyas in Mahaprabhu's hair being cut, he became ecstatic and he just started crying. He just started repeating over and over again, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. He became mad. And when he went back to his village, and people said, hey, how you doing? Shri Krishna Chaitanya, that's all they could speak to them. So they started calling him Chaitanya Das after that. And it's a long story, although he was an old man. Somehow, and his wife was also elderly, they had some desire after some time to have a son. He said, what is this? Well, we're so old. No, this must be the desire of the Lord. So they went to Nilacha, Jagannath Puri, and Mahaprabhu told them that you'll have a very special son. And his name will be Srinivas. And so Srinivas grew up in a very wonderful way with his parents. He would sit on the lap of his father and do kirtan, and his father would speak to him about Gaura Mahaprabhu, and then his father would start rolling on the ground and crying, and Srinivas would start rolling on the ground and crying, and the mother would start rolling on the ground and crying. And this was their family life. It was first-class family life. So later, when he became a young boy, it doesn't say, but you get the impression that he's 12 or 14 years old, Srinivasacharya, his father passed away. And Srinivas had such an intense desire to meet with Gaura Mahaprabhu. Finally, he got permission from his widowed mother, who didn't want her son to go, because he was all that she had. But she finally gave him her permission, and he set out for Jagannath Puri. And as he was going, he came in contact with some people who were coming from Jagannath Puri. And they were crying and looking very, very depressed. And Srinivas asked them, well, what is it? What's wrong? And they said, you haven't heard the news? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world. And when Srinivasacharya heard that, he fell down on the ground and began crying and weeping bitterly. And then that night, he decided better I die, and he sat down to fast. And that night, by the wish of the Lord, he fell asleep and he had a dream, and Gaura Mahaprabhu came to him and put his feet on Srinivas's head. And then Mahaprabhu, Srinivas woke up, well, it's a pretty good dream. And then he was sad. And then again Mahaprabhu came before him. And this time Mahaprabhu told him that I told Gadadhar that you're coming. So you have to go. The devotees in Jagannath Puri, they're waiting for you. And then Mahaprabhu, with his own hands, he wiped away his Srinivasacharya's tears and embraced him in great love, and again disappeared. And Srinivas woke up. It's a pretty good dream. And he set out again for Jagannath Puri. And so when he came to Puri, he asked the devotees, where is the temple of Tota Gopinath? And someone pointed out to him. And he went there. When he arrived there, he saw that the temple was empty. And there was just one devotee who was sitting in the corner with his head down and was just crying and crying bitterly. And Srinivas could understand who this was. And he came before him and offered obeisances. And that devotee looked up and, who are you? And he said, I'm your servant Srinivas. And this was Gadadhar. He was somehow staying alive just to see Srinivas Acharya. Mahaprabhu told him Srinivas is coming. And so then Srinivas was embraced by Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar told him that Mahaprabhu told me that I should wait for you and that I'm supposed to speak Srimad Bhagavatam to you. He said, but we have a problem. He said, the book I've got, it's a very nice book. He said, but Mahaprabhu and I, we were reading it together, and all the ink has become smeared because we were crying and crying. And the book is not readable anymore. So he said that you should go back to Navadvip, because there was no BBT press, anything like that. You should go back to Navadvip and get another copy of the book. But you should return very quickly, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to stay alive in this world. And so then Srinivas, he went to Navadvip, and he met with Sachimata, and he met with Lakshmi, Vishnu Priya, and the different devotees of Mahaprabhu. And everyone felt so ecstatic to see him, and they're all saying, you should stay a few more days with me. And so finally, he managed to get away from everybody in Navadvip, and he's returning to Jagannath Puri with the Bhagavatam. And as he was going to Puri, he saw some pilgrims. Krishna, come, please take this. He saw some pilgrims coming from the other direction. And they were crying bitterly. And Srinivas felt very nervous. He thought, this is like, I've been here before, deja vu, I already saw this before. He said, what is it? They said, oh, you haven't heard the news? Gadadhar Pandit left this world. And then Srinivas began crying. He fell down on the ground, that definitely I should die. What is the purpose of my living? And then at that time, Gadadhar Pandit appeared before him and told him, no, you go to Vrindavan and take shelter of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, and that's another long story. What happened after that? So Gadadhar Pandit is a very, very important personality in our line. And as Srila Prabhupada described in his purport, he's one of the most important branches of Mahaprabhu's tree. He initiated many devotees, and the Gadadhar Parivar, the line of Gadadhar Pandit, is still to this day a very strong line. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he worshipped deities of Gaur Gadadhar. Sometimes devotees, they ask a question. Recently someone was asking us why it is that Srila Prabhupada established deities of Nitai Gauranga. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose disappearance day is today, you also remember him, he established deities of Gaur Gadadhar. We, to understand that, we should contemplate what is the difference in the mood of Brahmitai versus the mood of Gaur Gadadhar, and what different functions do they each serve in Gaur Lila. In Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu is hearing Bhagavatam daily from Gadadhar Pandit. Why? What is the necessity of him hearing Bhagavatam every day from Gadadhar Pandit? He's also in the Gambhira, hearing from Sri Damodar Goswami and Gaura and they're speaking the Bhagavatam. Why? What is so special about Mahaprabhu hearing Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. And why is it, another interesting question, why doesn't Gadadhar Pandit come to the Gambhira and take part in the kirtan and program there? Why is Gadadhar Pandit so far away in Jagannath Puri? And why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give him deities for Tota Gopinath? We should contemplate. It's a very deep topic. Because Gadadhar Pandit is Srimati Radharani, and Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Ayam. He's a combined form of Radha and Krishna. Some devotees in some different Gaudiya Paribars, they make an issue out of this. I'll just briefly mention this point. Some say that it's incorrect to say that Mahaprabhu is physically the combined form of Radha and Krishna. But whether you say that he's some physical combined form, which is certainly transcendental, or whether he's Krishna in the mood of Radha, he's Krishna combined with the mood of Radha. You can't distinguish between Radha and the mood of Radha. So certainly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combined form of Radha and Krishna. Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima. He's come to taste this mood, and he said that Radha Bhava Yuti Suvalitam Krishna Swarupam, that the mood of Radha is predominant in Gaura. So then there's a problem. What is the problem? That if he's predominantly in the mood of Radha, if Gadadhar Pandit comes around, and Gadadhar Pandit's also in the mood of Radha, what's going to happen? There may be some rasabas, some overlapping of mellows, because Gadadhar Pandit's mood is so very, very intense, and Gadadhar Pandit has this mood of Radharani, and Mahaprabhu was also trying to taste the mood of Radharani. So what can you do? Just in the same way that a parent keeps a child busy by giving them a toy, by giving them something to do, just like we see in ISKCON a lot of times, and mothers, they bring their children to Bhagavatam class, and they give them crayons and some coloring book or something, give them something to do. So similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri, particularly, we'll discuss this in a moment, so that he could taste Radha Bhav. And there's a problem because Gadadhar Pandit was there. So to keep Gadadhar Pandit busy, Mahaprabhu gave him the deities of Radha, Lalita, Tota, Gopi. And it's said, incidentally, that when Mahaprabhu left this world, he entered into the deity of Tota Gopi. This is described in several literatures. In Bhakti-Ratnakar said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also writes about it, as does Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, as does Srila Prabhupada in his teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And it's said, according to the pujaris of the Tota Gopinath temple, very interesting thing, we don't find a samadhi anywhere of Gadadhar Pandit. In Vrindavan, there's a danta samadhi, a tooth samadhi of Gadadhar Pandit. But where is the full samadhi? And Gadadhar Pandit's not just a small personality. And certainly there would be a samadhi for him. Where is the samadhi of Gadadhar Pandit? So the tradition, according to the tradition of the Tota Gopinath temple, when Gadadhar Pandit left this world, this day, 11 months after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's departure, Gadadhar Pandit entered into the deity of Radharani. Now, where is this, to add a little comment, where is this full samadhi of Sri Damodar Goswami? He's another very, very important personality in Gaura Lila. But there's no samadhi, there's a non-samadhi of Sri Damodar in Vrindavan, but there's no full samadhi. Where is the full samadhi? According to the tradition, in the temple of Tota Gopinath, when Sri Damodar Goswami left this world, he entered into the deity of Lalita, because he's an incarnation of Lalita. And Gadadhar is the incarnation of Radharani, and Mahaprabhu entered into Gopinath. So when you're having darshan of Shri Shri Radha Lalita Tota Gopinath, it's pretty good. You're having sakshat, direct darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, and Sri Damodar. They're all packed in all together there. So what is the difference between the worship of Nitai Gaur and the worship of Gaura Gadadhar? Let's hear from something from Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Adi Lila, chapter 3, Mahaprabhu is described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He says, Pratama Lilaya Tanga Vishwambara Naam Bhakti Rasa Bharila Dhari la Bhuta Gram. That in his early days, he's known as Vishvambar, Mahaprabhu, in his Pratham Lila. He's named Vishvambar because Vishvambar means that personality who is the Vishva, Vishva means the universe, Vishvambar, who is maintaining the entire universe. And he's doing this, but Kaviraj Goswami says, Dubran Dhatur Artha Poshana Dharana, Pushila Darila Prema, Diya Tribhuvana. He says the verbal root Dubran, which is the root of the word Vishvambar, indicates nourishing and maintaining. And that Mahaprabhu, he's nourishing and maintaining the three worlds by distributing love of God. And this is also why in our Gaura Gayatri mantra, we meditate on Mahaprabhu as being Vishvambar, because he maintains the universe by giving this Krishna prema. And these are two activities, they're Poshana and Dharana. Poshana means to nourish, and Dharana means to maintain. So this Poshana and Dharana Leela is what's going on in his early Leelas. And again, in Adi Leela chapter 9, Kaviraj Goswami further explains the meaning of the name Vishvambar. Prabhu Kahi Ami Vishvambar, Mahaprabhu says himself, Nama Dhari, Nama Sartika Hoy Jari Prema Vishvabhari. He says, my name is Vishvambar, who maintains the universe. Its name will be actually realized if I can fill the whole universe with love of Godhead. So that Leela is primarily, that Leela is in Navadvip. And in Navadvip Leela, Nityananda Prabhu is more prominent than Gadadhar. Gadadhar is also present there. What Mahaprabhu he's doing is preaching Leela at that time, his Prachar Leela. And later, when he takes sannyas from Keshava Bharati, he gets a new name. And Kaviraj Goswami, when he speaks about the meaning of these names, this is again from Adi Leela chapter 3, the next verse after he speaks about the meaning of Vishvambar. He says, Sesha Leela, in the end of his pastime, Sesha Leela Yadari Nam, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Janaye Sabha Vishva Kaila Dhanya. That in his later pastimes, he'll be known as Shri Krishna Chaitanya, because he blesses the whole world by teaching about the name and fame of Lord Shri Krishna. Now, he becomes known as Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya means, and that has a simple meaning, but it also has another meaning. Shri means Sarva Amsini Radhika, and Chaitanya means consciousness of. So Shri Krishna Chaitanya means Radharani's mood of being conscious of Krishna. And that is done with Gadadhar. When he comes to Jagannath Puri, the Gambhira is described sometimes as being something like a stage. And just like if we do a drama, and I play in a drama version, my old friend Sachi Tanur, and I'm trying to play him in the drama, and if I go to him and I say, Prabhuji, I'm going to play you in the drama, and tell me what is your bhav so I can know how to portray you in the drama, he'll probably become very shy and say, I don't have any bhav. He may say that. Mm-hmm. So if I want to understand his bhav, I can't ask him. But I have to go to someone very, very close to him, maybe his mother, maybe his wife, or his brother, some very intimate person who knows him so well. So when Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to taste the mood of Radharani. But now he's overwhelmed. He doesn't know where to begin, where to start, how to taste this mood of Radharani. So he takes help from Radharani's two most intimate companions, who are Sarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, who are originally Lalita and Vishaka Sakis, who know the intimate mood of Radharani. And that Gambhira is like a stage. And just as in a stage you have a curtain. So there's a curtain in Jagannath Puri. That curtain is called Chatak Parvat. And on the other side of the curtain is Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar Pandit is teaching Mahaprabhu by reading Srimad Bhagavatam to him, teaching him the mood of Radha. Just like maybe Sachitanmoy Prabhu in our example, I'm trying to pray him in the drama, maybe he's standing off the side of the stage and he's telling me, no, you have to be more emotional. You have to be angry now. You have to be like this and that. No, you don't have it right. You got to do it like this. He'll be telling me off the side of the stage. So that's the function of Gadadhar Pandit in Gaura Leela, because all the associates of the Lord, whenever the Lord comes, his associates come and they perfectly enhance whatever mood he has. And so when he wants to do his Vishvambar Lila, of spreading Krishna praying throughout the universe, then Balaram comes as Nityananda Prabhu. And as Dharan and Poshmi, he's maintaining the universe and nourishing the universe by giving Krishna praying. But then when he wants to taste the mood of Radha, then Gadadhar Pandit becomes very prominent in Jagannath Puri. And Mahaprabhu gives him the deities of Gaur Gadadhar, gives him the deities of Radha Lalita Tota Gopinath. And Mahaprabhu is coming and seeing the mood, and Gadadhar is worshipping Radha Lalita Tota Gopinath in front of Mahaprabhu. That's also described in Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he's cooking for Tota Gopinath, and then Mahaprabhu's coming and taking that prasad. He's seeing the worship that Gadadhar is doing. And this way, Gadadhar is also instructing Mahaprabhu by reading Srimad Bhagavatam to him and by worshipping the deity of Tota Gopinath. Gadadhar Pandit is performing a very, very amazing and intimate function. So this is something of the amazing position of Gadadhar Pandit, the very intimate and very hidden position of Gadadhar Pandit in Gaura Lila. He appeared on the Amavasya because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Krishna took away everything. He took that praying. What's left is Gadadhar Pandit. So he appears on the Amavasya, means the empty moon, and he disappeared on the Amavasya on this day. So on this day, we take shelter of Gadadhar Pandit. We meditate and offer prayers to him. I'd like to stop here and thank all the devotees from online. There's a bunch of comments. Ronak Chaudhary Prabhu has asked a question. What's the significance of referring to the Lords of Gaur Gadadhar and or Gaura Nitai? Do these two ways of referring to the Lord pertain to the different moods of Lord Gauranga? Maybe you wrote this before I made my comments. You wrote it 35 minutes ago. And Vaisheshika Prabhu was there. Hare Krishna. Vaisheshika, we're here with Sachi Tanoi Prabhu. Vaisheshika was our great inspiration. And Lynn, our dear Lynn, who's been a Hare Krishna devotee now for 2 months, practicing Krishna consciousness for 2 months. She says, no problem. When in Rome, so to speak, I'm enjoying greatly the feeling of celebration, and I have a copy of the Bindu up to follow along. Very, very good. Hare Krishna. I hope it's not too. And Rono Prabhu, thanks for clarifying the difference. And I'm Samati, Mataji's here also. I hope you're okay now. We heard you went to Moscow. Anapayani Radha may have to join you there sometime. She's at least in St. Petersburg. And thank you, Madhupati Prabhu, for posting those things. And Bonnie, you're here also. Hare Krishna. And who else has come on? Please excuse me, devotees who are present in the room here. We're also trying to take care. Radhika Radha, Hare Krishna. I hope you like this guitar today. And Mala Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Sucharja. Donna Kelly, Mataji. You know Donna Kelly? She comes sometimes to LA. She lives in Arizona, I believe. She's a disciple of Giriraj Maharaj. A little older, like she's in her 60s or 70s, like that. She came to Puri, our good friend. Mahendra Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Pushpa Gopal, Pranams. Subal Shan Prabhu, Hare Krishna. And Michael Prabhu, Hare Krishna. And Anapayani Radha, who can't be here today. Natalia is there. So if anybody here has any comments or questions, any reflections, it's a nice thing. We take this practice from our dear Vaisheshika who's taught us that this is what you do with Hari Katha. You ask for reflections at the end. It becomes very powerful. Nima Chaitanya Prabhu, Samya Pras Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Does anybody have any reflections or comments? Why don't you come over here and take this mic and speak in the mic so the devotees can hear you.
There you go, Hare Krishna. My question is that you said that Lord Chaitanya, he wanted to hear from Gadadhara Pandit the Srimad Bhagavatam, he was teaching the Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the purpose, I think you said, or not correct me if I'm wrong, that it's just to teach him how to be more like Radha. Is that correct?
How to taste the Buddha.
Taste the Buddha. So I think I heard, maybe not enough, or I haven't understood properly. It appears that I hear many times that one of the pastimes you were reading from Srimad Bhagavatam was about Dhruva Maharaj. Is that correct? So what is that? That was my question. Can you explain something?
Yeah, this is a very beautiful question. Actually, I was thinking to say something about this. It's said in Chaitanya Bhagavat that in Jagannath Puri, Gadadhar Pandit was reading Bhagavatam in Mahaprabhu, and primarily they were hearing Dhruva Charit, the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj, and Prahlad Charit, the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj. Now, when someone hears it, they say, Adipani Radha would raise her hand and say, excuse me, this doesn't make any sense. We would think that he'd be reading about the Ras Lila or something like that, in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, but Prahlad and Dhruva, what is that? So there's a Bahiranga Karn and an Antaranga Karn, an external purpose and an internal purpose for hearing these two pastimes. The external purpose is to teach us a Davante Chanadricha Adi Sarvata deity, that in the beginning, middle, and the end, the Bhagavatam is all about Krishna. And wherever you land, it's just fine. You can read first canto, second canto, you can read fifth canto all about the hellish planets, and you can relish Radhabhav in the fifth canto. And this internal reason, the Antaranga Karna, is that Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Radha, likes to hear about Dhruva and Prahlad because they face so many problems and obstacles. And Radharani also faces many obstacles in the form of Jatila and Kutila, her so-called mother-in-law and sister-in-law, who are always keeping her back. So Radharani really relates that. She's, yeah, you go Prahlad, you go Dhruva. She's in that kind of mood. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Anybody else have any reflections, something you liked, or reminded you of something else, or anything? Nima Chaitanya, Guna Manje, Hare Krishna. It's hard to hear, I'm sorry. I don't know what the difficulty is, maybe with this mic. We changed mics. I can't say.
I don't know if nobody else has questions, you can ask me.
Okay, sure. Chaitanya will have something else.
So, you mentioned that why Gadadhar Pandit didn't go to the Madame Gambira. So one of the reasons that he didn't want to go because he didn't want to interfere with the mood of Radharani's mood of Lord Chaitanya. Is that one of the reasons, or there's more than?
Actually, I mentioned that today on Krishna Kun's eyebrows when I said that because I never spoke about that before. But it's an obvious thing. There's no mention of Gadadhar Pandit coming to the Gambira. And why is that? So we can see that in the Gambira, Mahaprabhu is experiencing some mood of separation from Radha. It's kind of like a roller coaster. People like roller coasters. Roller coaster, you go up and then you come down, you go up and you come down. And so similarly, Krishna, as Mahaprabhu, the relishes, the feelings of going up and coming down, of union and separation. And Sri Damodar Goswami is singing in the Gambira about Radharani. Gadadhar Pandit's not speaking about Radharani directly in Tota Gopinath. Some people say that actually, it's a long discussion about this. It was actually much of the time Mahaprabhu was hearing Bhagavatam from him at Narendra Sarovar. And there's this very solid proof of that. That's another topic. Important. But he was hearing from Sri Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda. Primarily, Roy Ramananda is speaking Krishna Katha, and Sri Damodar Goswami is singing songs. And this is our kirtan, this is our Gambira, Bhajan Pranali, our system of bhajan from Gambira, that we have both kirtan and Krishna Katha. Kirtan, Krishna Katha, kirtan, Krishna Katha. This is what Mahaprabhu is teaching us in the Gambira. And Sri Damodar Goswami would sing Mahaprabhu's feelings of separation, then he would sing something about the form of Krishna, and Mahaprabhu would see Krishna, and there would be union. And then suddenly Krishna would disappear. Sri Damodar Goswami was speaking about that. Once we were reading from Ancha Lila in our ashram in Jagannath Puri, we like to have programs in the evening, reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And one of the devotees asked an interesting question. How do we understand that Sri Damodar Goswami is doing kirtan, which disturbs Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu, he goes into ecstasy and he sees Krishna, and he's with Krishna. And then Sri Damodar Goswami, this happened several times in Chaitanya Charitamrita, starts doing kirtan and brings Mahaprabhu back to external consciousness. And then Mahaprabhu says, what did you do? I was with Krishna. So somebody asks, what kind of kirtan is that? That doesn't sound like very nice kirtan. Rather, the kirtan should be encouraging Mahaprabhu to get deeper. But we have to understand the mood of Radha. And the mood of Radha is like this roller coaster. It goes up and it comes down. And there's union and then there's separation. And there's union and there's separation. And because Mahaprabhu is Krishna, wanting to taste the mood of Radha, Sri Damodar Goswami provides union, but then he also has to facilitate separation. Otherwise, Mahaprabhu can't taste fully the mood of Radha. And Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami pointedly says that Mahaprabhu is tasting the mood of separation of Radha when she hears from Uddhava at the place known as Uddhava Keri. We've been to Uddhava Keri, near to Nandagaon. That's where the Brahma Gita took place, where Radharani spoke to the bumblebee. A very beautiful place there. So that place, that is where that mood of Radharani there at that place of the Brahma Gita, that Uddhava Keri, that's the same mood that Mahaprabhu has in Jagannath Puri. And to assist that, to enhance that separation, Sri Damodar is singing in a certain way. But if Gadadhar Pandit comes, then perhaps there's going to be another kind of union. That's one kind of thing. Okay? So maybe we'll go ahead and stop there. I'm going to, Anapani Radha says, thank you for this example. We're sorry you can't be here today. Anapani Radha says, thank you so much for this example of Gambhira, the stage for Mahaprabhu for relishing Radha's emotions. Chatak Parvat is a curtain, and Tota Gopinath at the temple, a training place, the tasting place. You could say training and tasting place for Mahaprabhu's emotions. The Gadadhar Pandit's kind of training him. Yes. We're sorry you can't be here today, Anapani. So what we're going to do, I think we'll go ahead and stop now for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll start again live streaming our kirtan. Okay, we'll have 6 hours of kirtan here today again, and if anybody wants to join online, I don't know how that works, but you can go ahead and do that. Shri Gadadhar Pandit ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Go Premanandi Hari Hari Pancha.